So I'm going to try something a little different this time, which is I'm going to be showing a collection of 11 photos that I took on a photo walk, which is just carrying your camera around and going for a walk and capturing candid street photography, something that I've recently been getting into, given that I purchased a new camera and then dropped it a week later, so it's back at the repair shop. But uh, I'm wanting to share a little bit about my process for how I capture street photography as I've learned it largely from YouTube, and I want to give back a little bit about some of the tactics and techniques about capturing good photos. This is also kind of an exercise for me to remind myself about what I was experiencing when I captured these photos and why I picked these specifically to share with y'all. Things that I'm thinking about how I could make them better, perhaps, than they are. But let's get started. We got 11 photos. Let's crank through them. This first one was the first photo that I took on my photo walk. So I parked nearby here. This is in downtown San Francisco by what's called the Ferry building, which is where the ferry boats come in for people who commute by boat. There's this really cool area where you'll find a lot of skaters, a lot of kind of action sports type folk. This guy was on a electric tricycle. He was driving really fast. I like the lighting a lot on this and the colors. You can see the sky is kind of washed out, whereas the foreground is pretty dark. I did some edit in Lightroom to get it to have this effect, and you can see on kind of the pavement, the lighting is really cool. Um, it could have been maybe framed a little bit better, not so closely adhering to rule of thirds here, but uh, you get the rider, which is cool. He's got a neat sharp red bike. Uh, Moving on, these were more walking photos I was taking as I passed by other pedestrians. This was looks like a mom and daughter. I was getting kind of nervous about taking candids and trying to get candid photographs of portraits of people as I walked face on, because you can get a lot of photos from the side without people noticing, but I really think that candid street photography portraits are probably the most interesting when you can see the most of someone's face, especially maybe shading. This one doesn't have great shading. I just included it in these 11 photos because it was among the handful of portrait photos I got that have people's full frontal face, although this lady's mom is blocking her face. uh, you can see this is kind of a low risk photo, just standing further back on the sidewalk without this person noticing. I think she was letting her dog take a piss, but it's kind of cool framing. You got the lines on the sidewalk, you got the lines of the wall over the water, you got the bridge in the background, you got Yerba Buena Island, which is really pretty. I like how the pier is aligned with the wall right here. Color is okay, kind of too blue for me. Nice little detail with the, the bird, but I just got lucky there. This is kind of cool. You can get a lot of cool shots of bicyclists, and you don't have to fear them confronting you for taking their photo. This is specifically an interesting photo to me because in the background, I think, are Google's offices that are on the waterfront of San Francisco, and you can see the on-ramp to the Bay Bridge. You can see a lot of buildings that are notable for kind of the businesses that they house. I think this is University of Pennsylvania's Wharton MBA program building. So that despite being a Pennsylvania university, they've got a San Francisco office, and this is just a really cool strip of San Francisco. This guy, I think he saw me take his photo. I like it. I'm glad that it's focused well and that the background's blurry. That looks pretty cool. I think he was less angry about me taking his photo and more that I might not have been wearing a mask at the time. But we were 6 feet apart, and I don't know this deal. I just find it funny. This is a little bit out of frame or out of focus in the foreground with these two individuals. I was walking by an open air restaurant, and I held this pretty high up above me when I took it. Could have could have lowered it maybe a little bit, but then you'd crop more of their shoulder. Uh, Not a great photo. I wouldn't say this is my favorite of the bunch. This one's kind of out of focus. Not great. I got to work on my camera settings to make sure that I'm in a shutter speed that's fast enough so that I can take in focus. This isn't due to the camera not focusing or auto-focusing properly. This is, I think, that the shutter speed wasn't fast enough. A cool view. If it was in focus, it would be cooler. This was really dark when I took it, like not a lot of lighting, and he was inside of his car, so I had to do a lot of raising the shadows to be able to make out this guy's face and what he was doing on his phone. Cool photo, not that interesting though. Another kind of head-on portrait. I felt kind of like a creeper taking this photo, but she just had a cool fashion, and I liked it. I wish I could change the background here with the van because it's not a very interesting one, but really cool background architecture. San Francisco downtown's got really cool buildings. This was a quickie from the hip, not that interesting. I wish I'd walked closer by this couple and maybe gotten their portrait, maybe asked their permission. And I think this is the last one. I started realizing towards the end of the walk that when you're walking with the sun facing you, you're kind of blinded. And when you try to take candid photographs of people walking towards you, their faces are all shadowed because the sun's behind them. I was taking these photos close to golden hour, which is, as I understand and believe, is kind of the best time to take photos like this. And it was only when I turned around on my walk and started walking back to my car that the sun was behind me and getting really low, and that's when light is really the best. I don't like the framing of this shot. Like, the subject matter your eyes are kind of drawn to this annoying, garbagey electric scooter, and the fact that this window seems to be broken and open. But the subjects are cool, and maybe soon they won't be wearing masks, and it'll be a little bit more interesting. So yeah, that's your tour through my 11 street photographs. I took this like a couple weeks ago. I'll do another one soon if you guys like it. Happy to answer questions about my process and the tools and locations, and open to suggestions. Enjoy.